Welcome to episode 2 of the Get Back in Shape podcast for fathers, husbands over the age of 40 who want to get back in shape and they want to know exactly what they should be doing in their lifestyle, their nutrition and their training. From a coach who's coached thousands of clients now, thousands of men just like you over the last 14 years, who's trained himself for over 27 years. So you're in a good place. If you're a father, wants to get back in shape, wants to improve his health, build a strong, healthy body, then you're in the right place. So listen up, take a seat and listen up. Most men in their 40s need a wake-up call when it comes to the direction they're going with their health, their body shape and their fitness. They need, let's say, a kick in the balls to waken them up, because we have, if you look at the stats across the world at this moment in time, in all the major continents, all the major countries, let's take the UK for example, over 60% of adult men are overweight and getting into that obese category, over the age of 40 into the age of 50. Shocking, right? With all the health clubs that we have, with all the gyms, with all the information that we have nowadays, we're now in a very dangerous place. Now, the reason why I want to start with the health risks, instead of getting into what do you do in training, what do you do in nutrition, what about in lifestyle, sometimes you need a little bit of a shock, hopefully, to take action. Because what I've found over the years of training men is that they will get to a certain point, they will go for a health check, whether it's for their position at work, whether it's for their health insurance, they will get all the major tests done, all the blood work done, and it comes back and it's not good. Comes back and now they're needing many medications. And at the end, I'm going to go through what I believe is a very inspiring story with one of the clients that came to my private personal training facility here in Abu Dhabi, who was 20 kilos overweight. He was on 7 different medications and he transformed within a year. Absolutely incredible within a year what he done with his body through changing lifestyle, changing nutrition and changing training. Coming to our facility, he went what I call all in. Burnt the boats, went all in, fuck it, it's time to change. And what he done was absolutely incredible. So hopefully that you get the punch in the face, you get the kick in the balls, then you get inspired by the story and hopefully you want to change as well. What are the potential consequences of you not taking action? Let's say you're sitting there right now, you're successful, you've got a lovely family, you've got the big house, you've got the nice car, and you're thinking, doesn't matter. Got to this point, I'm a few kilos overweight, doesn't really matter. I've never really had to visit the doctor. At some point soon, in the postman's coming with it, meaning your waistline is over 40 inches. Go get a tape, go measure it. You're at risk. If you're about 10 to 20 kilos overweight, you're at risk. Simple as that. We know that carrying excess fat around the midsection, internal visceral fat, is the most dangerous fat that we can carry in the body. This midsection fat, so the visceral fat that we cannot see inside the body, is dangerous. It can lead to insulin resistance, can lead to high blood sugar, can lead to fatty liver disease and other complications. Now it might not be right now, but it could be in a couple of years. Right? We just never know the day, right? But we cannot have the attitude of, we're all going to die someday. Give you another hypothetical example. Let's say you hang on in there, because everybody has the example of, Dad drank his whole life and he lived to 90, or my gran smoked her whole life and didn't focus on her diet and lived to 95. Let's say you hang on in there, but what are the quality of those last 10 years? What is the quality? What's the point of hanging on if you're sitting there and you've not got your mobility, you can't really go anywhere, you're actually a burden to your kids, you're a burden to your family. Nobody wants that either. So, what should be aware of? What have I seen with clients who are not looking after their nutrition, too many calories, eating copious amounts of carbs on a daily basis? Carbs are not the enemy, but if you overconsume them, you're going to be in trouble. Carbs are the number one abused macronutrient that I've seen observing thousands of food diaries over the years. I'm from Scotland. Give you an example of that. When I used to observe clients' food diaries in Scotland, it was morning time, 2 slices of toast, glass of fresh orange juice, which everybody thinks is healthy, cup of coffee, run out the door. Get to lunchtime, not get much time, haven't made the effort to make something before going to work, now buying from a sandwich shop or phoning something in, more than likely a sandwich shop, more carbs, or some sort of pasta dish that you do not need to heat up from, again, a shop. Again, maybe a can of juice with that, more sugars. Maybe between lunch and dinner, you're still at the office, you're starting to flag a little bit, starting to get a wee bit tired. I'll have a cup of coffee or I'll have a cup of tea, wee biscuit, get some sugars, get some energy, more carbs. You get to dinner time, wife is making spaghetti bolognese, your plate is piled high with the spaghetti, you've got a tiny wee dollop of mince on the top, the bolognese, with some garlic bread. You have that, it's been a tough day, and you have a glass of wine with it, or a couple of glasses of wine, maybe even a beer. So you end up in this, get up, carbs, middle of the day, carbs, end of night, carbs. Now this is where it's all unbalanced for a lot of people. And this is where, when you're constantly pumping carbs into your body, you're not moving enough, so you're sitting in an office, sitting in front of a computer for 9 hours a day, you go to the gym 3 times per week, it's not enough to burn through the stored glycogen. That's the way that your body will store it. We have limited stores within our muscle cell, within our liver, we have limited stores. High blood sugar is, if you've got high blood sugar all the time, you're not burning it off as energy, we have issues. If we're constantly pumping in sugars the whole time, we're putting excess stress on our pancreas to constantly pumping out insulin. That is also not good. You develop insulin resistance, where insulin can no longer do its job by bringing down blood sugar levels. You will develop type 2 diabetes, you will develop insulin resistance, and you're then in for a whole host of health issues. So when it comes to diet, that's where we must start to control diet, nutrition. I'm not saying cut out all your carbs. I never tell clients to cut out all their carbs, but we must become aware of it. What are my overall calories? What am I taking in? Where am I getting those calories from? How much protein am I having? How much healthy fats? How much carbs am I having? Now, the number one thing is overall calories. You must understand that if you can bring your calories down to an appropriate level to match your current physical activity levels, or just slightly below, you're going to lose weight, you're going to feel better, you're going to feel healthier, you're not going to feel bloated, tired, fatigued. You need to start thinking about these things. When you exercise, you're burning through those sugars. You're creating new space within the muscle cell. You're creating new space within the liver. And the example I want to give you, very simple analogy when it comes to the amount of carbs that you're eating. If you imagine your liver being a storage site, like your main fuel tank, if you look at your muscle cells, or inside your muscles, take your biceps, take all those muscles that you have in your body, they will have some storage sites. You imagine the legs, they have massive storage sites for glycogen, for sugars, so that when we do move, we do exercise, this can be broken down and released for energy. Simple as that. That's the easiest one. Now, the analogy I want to give you is, you have a 3-litre car. Okay, you fill a tank, go to the petrol station, fill up the tank, tank's full, you drive 1 mile down the road, you go to the petrol station, and you try and fill it away up again. And let's say there wasn't the shut-off point. for that, where the petrol would just be spilling out. You've not driven enough to burn enough fuel, but now you're trying to fill the tank back up 3 litre style. That is what's happening with a lot of people with their body when it comes to carbs. They've not moved enough. So they've had those 2 slices of toast in the morning, they've had 60 grams of carbs, they go in the office, are sitting there doing nothing, typing away, and now, lunchtime, we've got another 60 grams of carbs coming in from the sandwich, possibly even more if you add in a sugary drink or a piece of chocolate, something like that. We're now having that spillage, that excess, because we don't have any more space in the tanks for the glycogen. Now, some of it will, of course, be burnt as energy there and then, but if we're doing that day in, day out, this is where we get the spillage into our fat cells, and why you start to accumulate fat pretty quickly, especially in your 40s when your physical activity levels have came down. So we can then start to develop type 2 diabetes, we can then start to develop insulin resistance, and when insulin can't do its job, let's go with a little lesson here. You eat something which is sugary, your blood that food is then obviously digested very quickly, then releases sugars into the bloodstream. Your body gets a signal for the pancreas to then release insulin. Now, insulin's job is to then bind, grab on, can you imagine just little Pac-Men, grab all those sugars, don't know why I'm doing that noise, but grab all those sugars, then take them to the surface of the muscle cell, let's use that, where there would be another little receptor, which is like a lock and key. Right? Insulin brings the sugar, binds onto this little receptor site on the muscle, like a lock and key, and it takes the sugar inside the muscle cell. Now, what happens with insulin resistance? Insulin goes up, insulin binds to the sugar, but this receptor cell on the muscle, or some of them, let's just use that analogy, some of them are not working. It's here. It's not working. The locking key is broken. It's burnt out because you're doing that every day. More sugars, more sugar, more carbs, more sugar, more carbs. And they don't work as well. They basically burn out. And now insulin can't do its job, so you have high blood sugar levels and you have high insulin levels, which leads to inflammation. Leads to something called glycation. The best analogy I heard with glycation for the human body is like a rusting inside your body. Imagine you bite into an apple, you leave it sitting and it starts to brown, starts to oxidize. This is what's happening when you have high blood sugar levels, high insulin levels within the body. We have a rusting from inside the body, high inflammation, which will eventually cause you a lot of health issues. So if we take that alone, if we stop there and think, shit, I need to start fixing my diet. I need to look at how many carbs I'm having. I don't need to cut them all out. Can I reduce them to match my current physical activity levels to start losing weight? That's what you need to think of. So if we stop just there with that, the fact that you could develop type 2 diabetes, the fact that you could develop insulin resistance, high levels of inflammation within the body, which could lead to more complicated health issues. And do not underestimate type 2 diabetes and the complications that can come with that. Do not underestimate that. Do not underestimate having to go to the doctor every month for medications, for checkups, the inconvenience of that. I have clients who need to go to the hospital, need to go to the doctor every single month, pick up their medication, and get themselves blood tests every single month because they're type 2 diabetes. They need to keep a close eye on that. Where does a dose of medication need to go to control the blood sugar levels? So, let's not go there. Let's talk about high blood pressure. If you're overweight, your heart will be working harder. If you have high blood pressure or hypertension, it can lead to heart attacks, it can lead to a stroke and kidney damage. It's often called the silent killer. If you know anyone that's had a heart attack, they probably didn't know it was coming. It's called the silent killer for a reason. You're going along your daily business one day and boom, there you go. Heart attack. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time without immediate help, you're in trouble. I was actually speaking to a client in our private facility the other day, and he was telling me about his dad, 52 years old, on his way to work. Fine, left his brother, used to get the train with his brother into work. Two of them left. His brother got a phone call about an hour later, and he'd had a heart attack and died. 52 years old. No warnings, no nothing. Left the house, see you later to the family, and never returned. So, now can it happen out the blue to anybody? Yes. But guys, wake up. You need to minimise the risk. How do we minimise the risk? The stats are there. The facts are there. We can minimise the risk. We can get rid of high blood pressure without medication by changing our lifestyle, changing our nutrition, and changing our exercise habits. So, let's minimise the risk of a heart attack. Let's get the blood pressure down and under control by fixing diet with exercising more. Why you would put yourself at risk of these things when you know the consequences is it's hard to fathom for me. Let's start with the next one, low testosterone. Every man talks about it. HRT, TRT. Why are they talking about it in their late 30s? Why are they talking about it in their 40s? I was listening to someone who's 35 and he's now on testosterone, HRT, TRT at 35 years old. Mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. Why? Because poor lifestyle, poor nutrition, poor training habits, and now paying the piper. Simple as that. A lot of guys in their 40, it's their first thing. They go for a blood test. Straight away, doctor is offering TRT to them, HRT. And that is you. Once you're on that stuff, you're on it for the rest of your life. Simple as that. You're on it for the rest of your life. Now, there is obviously, for some guys, it is an absolute must. It is an absolute must. Their levels are far too low. Their libido is low. Their energy is low. Their mood is low. Their muscle mass is starting to decline. Their strength levels are starting to decline. And they're starting to store more fat. So they want to do something about it. But I believe my belief is go through a period, probably a year, go back to living a healthy lifestyle, go back to eating properly with a healthy, balanced diet, trying to increase your protein, trying to have more salads, more vegetables, get your vitamins, your minerals, your fibre, get in healthy fats. Healthy fats will bring up your hormones. Start to train and train properly. Yes, have some cardiovascular work in your training, but also get in the gym, lift weights, and do it properly. Go in the gym, learn the big compound movements, like your squats, your deadlifts, and you will see an increase. Do it for a year, not fucking 6 weeks. Do it for a year and see if you can naturally increase your low testosterone levels. Try and stay off the alcohol. How about that? Stop drinking every night. Stop drinking every weekend. How about that? To raise your low T levels. So if you're living that shitty lifestyle, poor diet, not training enough, going to bed late, not looking after your sleep, then your T levels will be low. Guaranteed. Next one. The health risk of not lifting weights, doing some form of resistance training to help you build and help you maintain your muscle mass. Now, you may have heard from the age of 30, testosterone levels decline. They don't decline that much if you're looking after yourself. You may have heard as your T levels decline, your muscle mass declines. Of course it's going to decline if you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. As we age, there is something called sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss. We can offset this. We can put the brakes on it. Again, you guessed it. If we fix things in our lifestyle, our nutrition, and especially our training, lifting weights will put the brakes on sarcopenia. Now, how does sarcopenia impact you? Maybe not at 40, maybe in your late 50s, 60s. You start to lose your muscle mass, you start to lose your strength, you maybe lose your balance, you can't grab onto things, you fall, you break a bone, you break a hip. Not good. In Dr. Peter Attia's book, Outlive, I can't remember the stats on this, but as we get into our 60s, one of the biggest killers and one of the major things that we should be strength training for is to offset frailty. The amount of people over 60 who fall, break a hip, break a leg, break something, become immobilised and never really recover from it. That's what we're in the gym lifting weights for, guys. Fight off sarcopenia as you get older. You want to be able to get out that seat, right? You don't want to be stuck in that seat. You can't squat yourself out of that seat, leg press yourself out of that seat and just sit there and piss and shit yourself, because you do not have the ability to get out the seat. You do not have the ability, the strength to run after your grandchildren. You do not have the strength to go walking up the stairs. You do not have the strength to go walking up that hill when you go on holiday and get to the top of the mountain and look at the great views. Now, I know it sounds a wee bit like doomsday, but you've got to start thinking about these things. You've got to start thinking of them. Next major thing to potentially think about is So we have sarcopenia, which is to do with age-related muscle loss. We have osteopenia, which is to do with weakening of the bones because we're not putting load-bearing exercises through them, which then leads to osteoporosis. The best way I heard or explained to me with osteoporosis was, if you think of a sieve, right? A sieve where most guys probably don't even know what a sieve is, never been in a kitchen. If you think of a sieve, or if you were to zoom in on a sponge and you've got all these little holes, that's like your bones. They become porous and they become fragile. Now we can create new bone formation by putting load on it. When you lift weights, your tendon, from the muscle, running from the muscle, the tendon running from the muscle which attaches to the bone, that's how you move, right? Bicep curl, attached to the bone. I want to move that this way. The tendon pulls on the bone. That stress, when there's enough resistance there, can cause new bone formation, bigger, stronger bones. That's what you're doing when you're in the gym lifting weights. You're strengthening your bones. You're maintaining your muscle mass. You're strengthening your heart. So, if you want to get to 60 and have brittle bones that snap and break, then go ahead. Continue to avoid the gym. Continue to avoid lifting weights. Go ahead. And the last one that I'll cover, which I believe is super important, is to do with mental health. What's happening inside here? The amount of clients I've had over the years, men, who come and say, listen coach, I exercise for this. The amount of stress relief the exercise gives me is unbelievable. I come stressed from work and the release that it gives me is unbelievable. Guys who have come overweight, lacking in confidence, now in shape, now fit, now strong, they're stronger up here. We know nowadays that there is a lot of men with mental health challenges. There is a lot of men commit suicide because inside here they're facing a lot of issues. They're maybe stressed, or not maybe stressed, they are stressed. They have issues going on in many different areas of their life. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that lifestyle, nutrition and training will fix everything. It doesn't, but it helps. I've seen it with my own eyes with regards to mental health. We know that it changes the chemicals in the body. We know that it changes the chemicals in the brain. I've never met anyone who's come into the gym who was feeling a little bit, let's say, out of sorts, bad day, feeling tired, feeling sluggish, shitty day overall, maybe an argument with their staff, their management, whatever it is, maybe even an argument with their wife, and now they come into the gym, you can see that their mood is down. By the time they've finished the session, their mood is here. It's up here. That's the power of exercise. I see it with my own eyes every day. I've seen it with my own eyes for 14 years. So, those are the possible consequences. Those are the possible health risks. If that's not enough to give you a kick in the balls to take action, I don't know what will. Maybe the next story will. Client story for you. client story, real life story. Guy in his 40s, local guy, so Emirati, comes to our private personal training facility. Machine, the in-body analysis. We have an in-body analysis machine, which is a bioelectrical impedance, very expensive machine. We take his measurements, which you can see here. If you're watching the video podcast, you can see here. The guy has about 20 kilos of excess fat. He's out of shape, so not really trained, been abusing food. About 20 kilos overweight, under-muscled as well. Under-muscled, doesn't have much muscle mass. Comes in, he's on 7 different types of medication. Now this is the truth, this is the facts. 7 different types of medication. He's a type 2 diabetic, which you develop with poor nutrition, poor exercise habits, as I discussed. High blood pressure medication, high cholesterol, and other medications. So health is a mess, body's a mess, fitness is a mess. He comes in and he wants to get back in shape. He wants to transform his health. So this guy goes on a journey for 1 year. It's actually roughly to this date 1 year since he came into our facility. He's now 20 kilos down. Okay, so 20 kilos down. He went from 27 kg fat mass, 27 kg fat mass, all the way down to 7 kg fat mass in 1 year. Recently, not that long ago, a few months back, went to his doctor, done all the blood tests, done everything that they need to do. He no longer, at this moment in time, as we currently speak, this guy is no longer on any medication. Zero medication. He's now running 5Ks without stopping. He's now squatting a decent amount of weight in the gym. He's built over 3 kg of muscle. So from being fat, overweight, not strong, not fit, on 7 medications, to being strong, being fit, and on 0 medications. That is powerful. As a coach, it's the most satisfying thing for me. It's the most satisfying thing for our coaches at my facility when we get someone who just grabs all the information, who comes every week and goes all in, and you see the massive change. There's nothing more frustrating for me looking at a man who's overweight. I know he's on the road to health problems, and he does fuck all. He doesn't grasp what's going to happen to him. And that is why I wanted to bring you this as the second episode. To hopefully listen to someone who works with men face to face in his facility, who works with men online, who's helped him transform through the power of lifestyle, small lifestyle changes, back to basics in nutrition, back to basics in training, both resistance training and cardiovascular training, who's done it and seen it with his own eyes. And it can be so powerful, transforming to you. So if you're listening to this, you're watching this, and you're overweight, you're struggling with your health, with your fitness, with your confidence, know that you can change at any age, and know that there are some simple, basic steps that you can take to transform yourself in 1 year, depending where you are, depending where you're starting from. 1 year, go all in, you could be standing in a completely different position, standing in a completely different body, this time next year. So, thanks for listening. Episode 3 is going to be about what we do at the gym. What exactly should I be doing at the gym to build strength, build muscle, create workouts which are time efficient and effective for men in their 40s? Because trust me, you should not be training, and you're probably not training like you train in your 20s. There are things that need to be done differently, and one of them is a time barrier. When you went to the gym in your 20s, when I used to go with my mates in our 20s, we had hours. We would be there for hours. That time frame starts to decline. And one of the major barriers to men not going to the gym in their 40s, they believe in their head that they need loads of time. It takes too much time. It's because you don't have the structure, you do not have the system of how to train in 60 minutes or less. That's why you don't go to the gym. You do not realise the results you can get from 3 times per week in less than 60 minutes when you have a structured plan. And you go in and you know exactly what you should be doing, and the sets, the reps, the exercises, the cardio. You're in and out in 60 minutes and you've had a phenomenal workout with phenomenal benefits. So that's what we're going to cover next week. Episode 3, how should you be training at the gym in your 40s? I'm Coach James. Thanks for listening. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, share with a father that you know, a husband that you know who wants to get back in shape. Thanks for listening.